I'm Jeff Matlow. Welcome to the best leadership podcast ever. Welcome back to the pod. Hey, you know what you should do right now? Click that subscribe button wherever you're listening to this. If it's on podcast or a Substack or YouTube, wherever, just click that subscribe. I don't want you to miss a single episode. Plus, it would really help me. Anyway, I just came back from a trip to a gorgeous remote island located somewhere in the middle of the Sea of Cortez. When I'm in the middle of somewhere beautiful, there's nothing more I like to do than to go for a run. That, to me, is joy. But I couldn't go for a run because I'm having a knee problem. A torn meniscus, I've got 50% deterioration of cartilage behind my kneecap, all things you probably don't care about, and that's fine. But running was on my mind as I started thinking about what I wanted to talk about today. And in the end, what I came up with is something about your personality. Let me explain. Now imagine you're running. And someone takes a photograph of you, just some random moment while you're running. Probably not one of your best photos. Let's say you got one foot in the air, your arms are swinging a little bit more wildly than usual, and your face is twisted in that kind of, do I really look like that type of way? Then they hand you the photo and they say to you, this picture is exactly how you walk, run, and move through the world. Now, maybe you think they're insane, but that's what they told you, so you accept it as the truth. That's what you look like as you move through the world. Seems ridiculous, right? I know. So riddle me this, Batman. Why do you do the same exact thing with your personality tests? In the 1900s, psychologists agreed on 5 behavioral tendencies to describe our personalities. These are known as the Big 5 personality traits. You may have heard that term, the Big 5, not the sports store, the personality traits. Let me tell you what they are. First is openness, which is about how much you look for new experiences versus sticking with what you know works. The second is conscientiousness. That's how much you prioritize order and discipline versus flexibility. The third is extroversion, which is how much you get energy from being around other people versus being alone. The fourth is agreeableness. That's about how much you prioritize harmony between people versus your own position. And finally, the fifth is neuroticism. That's how much you scan for threats as opposed to assuming stability. So openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Those are the Big 5. And each of them is measured on a spectrum, right? You're not an introvert or an extrovert. You're some blend of them. And you're not open to new experiences or closed to them. You're going to fall somewhere on the continuum. That's what the personality tests measure. Now, at some point, you've probably taken a Myers-Briggs, DiSC, Clifton Strengths, or some of the other popular personality tests. From what I've read, 50 to 80% of workers these days have taken it at least once. In fact, some companies are starting to rely more heavily on personality tests when hiring new people than they do on resumes. All of those top tests are psychologically credible measurement tools of the Big 5 personality traits. And that's where the problem begins. Because when something is scientifically credible, you tend to treat it like the truth. So if you're like most people, you'll view the results of your personality test as a diagnosis of who you are. But you're wrong. It's like taking a snapshot of your current behavioral patterns and then believing that picture represents the same exact person you were 5 years ago and the same one you'll be 5 years from now. Here's what you do. You take the test. You get your results. You read them. They seem to resonate. It kind of sort of feels like it describes you. So you use the results to explain your behavior instead of changing your behavior. Don't think you're doing that? Well, my friend, think for a moment if you've ever said anything about yourself similar to these things I hear a lot from my senior leadership clients. I can't help it. I'm an introvert. It doesn't make sense because I'm highly conscientious. Conflict isn't my thing. I'm better at maintaining peace. I'm just a detail-oriented person. I'm a high achiever. That's the way I am. Any of those sound a little bit familiar? Because if they do, and they do to most people, you're an unknowing victim to the personality test diagnosis trap. The psychologists who created personality tests never claimed your trait balance was fixed forever. Heck, they never even said it would be the same next year as it is today. Research consistently shows that personality traits change over time. In fact, they can change significantly in as little as 15 weeks. That means your personality doesn't reveal your true identity. It only shows you your current habits. That distinction is super important for you to understand. Habits can change. In fact, habits have to change as you mature and your career develops. The test isn't wrong. Your interpretation of it is. You have to look at personality tests in a completely different way. Your test results aren't statements, they're questions. They're not telling you who you are as much as asking you if your patterns are still benefiting you. For instance, if you scored low in openness, it means you don't actively look for new experiences. You focus on sticking with what works. That made you reliable when you were an exceptional worker, but the same behavior can now hold you back from getting your next promotion. If you scored high in conscientiousness, it means you've been fairly disciplined. And that pattern probably made you successful as an individual contributor, but the same pattern will work against you when you're leading a team. So the big question to ask yourself is, does this personality trait still help me, or do I need to change it? Because you can change it if you want. How do I know? Because I've done the same darn thing with myself. Plus, I guide the same kind of change for hundreds of leaders around the world, from global 100s to early stage entrepreneurs. When you stop looking at your personality test as a crystal ball and start understanding it's just a photograph in time, you can start using the information in your favor to help guide the changes you need and to be the person you want to be. But if you treat them as the truth about who you are, you're going to forget that you're the one choosing the pattern. Remember that photograph of you mid-stride that we talked about at the beginning of this? Stop looking at that photograph. Start moving forward. The personality test didn't limit you. You gave it that power, and it's time to take that power back. Do you wonder which of your personality traits are still helping you and which ones have become a problem? Because if you want to know the answer, you should check out the free leadership diagnostic workshop that I put on. That's what we do, is help you answer that question. As always, you can reach me hello@thebestleadershipcompany.com. Thanks for listening. Take that power back, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.